Hi everybody, welcome to another Taubmans live colour advice session. My name is Fiona, I'm the Taubmans colour specialist and we are here this evening to talk all things colour. So thank you very much for joining us. I will first of all take you through how the session's going to work this evening. So for the first half an hour I will be in front of the camera streaming live, and it's a great opportunity for you to pop any questions into the feed and I'll certainly do my best to answer them for you. So look, if you're embarking on a project and you'd like some advice, certainly pop that into the feed. If you're wanting to know about our wonderful portfolio of products that we have designed to protect and beautify your space, ask away, and certainly ask any questions that are colour related, and once again we'll do our very best to help you. So we are back after a 2-week break, so I'm feeling a little bit rusty tonight. I hope everyone had a fantastic break, and for those football enthusiasts, I hope that you enjoyed the game and you got to paint the exterior of your home in your favourite football colours using Taubmans, of course. But prior to having our 2-week break, we had a fantastic session where we were live on set with wonderful James Treble. So he is an Australian interior designer, and it was fantastic to be in his home talking all things colour and talking about the wonderful renovation that he has just embarked on, and certainly talking about the wonderful Taubmans products that were used to, bring the space to life. So that was a fantastic session. So if you did miss that, I would encourage you to have a look at it. James has got some really good insights for anybody that's about to paint or renovate, etc., and really sort of down-to-earth tips and tricks. So certainly well worth watching, and you'll find that in our feed. It was our last live session. So this evening we are here, as I said, to talk all about products, projects, colour, but sort of with a little bit of a focus on interior, but certainly don't let that stop you from popping any questions into the feed, even about exterior. So I'll start this evening with the first question that we did have come through. So tonight's question, it's come from Nicole. So thank you very much, Nicole, for joining our session. So, and the question is trying to figure out a roof paint and colour that goes with night sky gutters, repainting a ColourBond roof. It was green. So thank you, Nicole, for your question. Thank you for joining our session. So I guess, the first thing is to consider preparation is going to be the key, ensuring that, your ColourBond existing roof sort of hasn't chalked off. So you'll need to prepare it adequately first to ensure that you'll get wonderful adhesion. The next question I would ask is, just so that we make sure we're giving you the appropriate product that is fit for purpose, is to ask you, are you collecting potable drinking water? And if you are, there's a fantastic product called Sunproof, which is designed to be safe for the collection of potable drinking water, so that I would steer you that way. And the other thing, when we're talking about colour, it's, so for those of you who are wondering what night sky is pretty much black. So, you've got quite a neutral colour to work with, but I would also consider the rest of your facade. So what else is in the mix? So, if you've got a coloured brick, or what other colour is sort of out there, like the colour of your garage door and also the colour of your windows. So if you can come back to me with a little bit more information, I can certainly help you build a fantastic colour scheme. That's going to be the envy of all of your neighbours. So yeah, pop something else into the feed and I can explore and help you a little bit more. So as I said, and look, the same goes as well if you're embarking on an interior project. It's really important to also have a look and see what exists within the interior, because a lot of people do wonder, where do you start? So there's things like the colour of your window frames internally, your flooring, obviously, your window furnishings, if you're doing a kitchen, the colour of your joinery, the bench top, any tiles that you may have. So that there's all of the things, that the elements, if you like, that are incorporated in your interior that help to build a colour scheme. And so to recommend or to help you work out the best colour to use, it's really important to understand what else is in the mix. So if you are embarking on a project at home and you're about to paint the interior of your home, have a look around and work out what stays, what goes, and then you can start to work out sort of the undertone and what you're going to be working with to help to, I guess, pinpoint the colour that you want to use, because as we all know, there's so many colours. Okay, so let's continue on. So tonight we're talking all about interiors, and I thought, I really like to keep it real, keep it simple, and keep it relevant. And so I've been out and about and I've noticed blue is sort of really coming into play. So there's a beautiful sort of Mediterranean blue. You know, I almost like to call it sort of the blue that you'd see in the Mamma Mia movie sort of set. So that really sort of bright, vivid blue. But then there's also, I've also noticed like some really deeper sort of almost French navies, darker blues in the mix as well. So, you know, I've been out and about looking at homewares and these are really coming to play. So I thought I'm going to talk about blue tonight, and blue's a fantastic colour to use in an interior. So I'm going to get a little bit technical here. I'm going to move you all, take myself off screen and pop up some beautiful blues that we have to offer through our Taubmans wonderful portfolio of colours. So I will share my iPad. Let's hope this all goes to plan. Beautiful. And I'll pop myself up in the corner. Fantastic. So I want to take you on a little bit of a journey. So blue's a fantastic colour, and I use that word all the time. It's beautiful, it's fantastic, because it is. And it will work really, really well for you. And if you're unsure of what colour to introduce, blue's a really calming colour, and depending on the level or intensity of colour, there's certainly something within the blue sort of sphere that can work for you. So having a look here, there's a few of my favourite blues that we have within our wonderful colour range. And I've tried to make it a little bit bold so that we can see, you know, I don't just want to pay homage to one particular style of blue. So I thought, you know, I'll bring a little bit of everything to life, if you like. So deeper blues, sort of aqua tealy sort of blues. One of my favourite blues up there, which is in the corner, called Black Flame. That has to be something that I really, really love. And then also down below you can see a colour called Elegant Evening. So, you know, blue looks wonderful with, if you're wanting to work out what can you put it with. Beautiful, clean, crisp whites work extremely well, and especially when you start to go into the deeper tones. But for those that are watching and have watched before, I do seem to be having a little bit of a love affair at the moment with a colour called Aria Ivory, which is, it's just, you can describe it as, you know, it sits within that white neutral sort of space, and it's slightly warmer. And it really, really works extremely well with things like travertine, which I've talked about before, which are very much on trend. So you can use that type of tone as well with these beautiful blues. And you can even look, there's some wonderful colours that are starting to come in as well, and you'll see when we launch our colour forecast and our beautiful colour collections. You can also pair blue back with some wonderful tones, so colours that sit on the edge. So you'll start to see those filtrating through as well. And there's a colour, or I guess you could say a colour that sits between pink and sits between brown. So those sorts of tones, if you can imagine, work really, really well with a lot of blues. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be sort of a blue and white scheme. You can interject other colours and create a beautiful colour palette per se. So I'm going to take you through, let me see, I've got notes here to keep myself on track tonight because I've had a couple of weeks off. So look, and the other thing to really point out is, look, colour's very personal, and I think it's, if you're not sure where to start, you work out, the best piece of advice I can give you is to work out what you gravitate towards. So, you know, if you're out and about shopping and you see something, and we're talking about blues obviously, but if you see a particular blue that you love, there's your foundation to start building a colour palette from, because ultimately the colour scheme has to be something that you love and something that you are prepared to live with. So it's really important to understand that, I think. So, you know, what I'm doing is just giving you a few, you could say a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of guidance of how you can use some of our wonderful colours. So the other thing I would do, so when you look at these beautiful colours and talking about how colour is so personal, and you're thinking, you know, a lot of people, and I understand this because I spend a lot of time in stores talking at colour walls, etc. And colour can be quite daunting, and I really understand that. So it's not, I'm not saying, you know, you have to use one particular colour and saturate a whole space. Having said that, for a bedroom, using a dark colour and saturating all the walls looks fantastic. But, you know, in a living space or a kitchen, or if you're not really confident, I guess, with colour, and that's what these sessions are about. They're about giving you some confidence with colour. You can just create a little bit of a hero within your space. And how you can do that, the easiest way is certainly by way of a feature wall, or if you've got some dado or wainscoting, or even choosing to paint something like an internal door, which just creates a little bit of a focal point. And then from that focal point, or that hero in that room, if you like, you can start to then use, I like to use the word repetition. I think it's a really important element or design element. And when you're creating a space, having that color being used again and again creates a wonderful cohesive space. So yeah, there's lots of ways that you can inject color without having to think, oh, I don't want to use something like this, it would be too much. You can do it quite subtly and it can be just as successful. And you know, the other place as well, like we talk about using color and working out where to use it. So it's not only just for modern homes, like beautiful, when I use the word traditional homes or older style homes that have really high ceilings, and you've got your beautiful high ceiling, you're coming down to a picture rail, like using color on the ceiling and then coming down to the picture rail looks fantastic. And this is where you can inject a little bit of color as well. So darkening up the space and then coming down and using a lighter version, and layering the color using a darker blue and then a lighter blue works really well together. So there's a little bit of inspiration there, but what I always suggest, and I know I talk about this a lot, and I am going to talk about it again, is to get yourself a sample pot. And the best way is choose the colors that you think you gravitate towards and that you're sort of wondering how they are going to look in your space. Grab yourself a large piece of cardboard. You can get the piece of cardboard from, if you go to Bunnings, all of our paint comes on a large palette, and we have what's called palette liners. And the palette liners are large pieces of cardboard. And if you grab yourself one of those and you cut a piece of cardboard, you're wanting to use, I say, 1 meter by 1 meter square, because it's going to give you a true representation of how the color is going to look in your space. And then brush out 3 coats. The first coat's going to sort of aid as an undercoat. And then once it's dry, there's 2 areas to test your color. So you've got your wall, you've got your floor. So popping it up, sitting up against the wall, touching the floor, then you can see things like floorboards, carpets, furnishings, etc. See how those influence the colour. And same again, so you've got your wall, you've got your ceiling this time, popping the sample up here, up against the ceiling, excuse me, and then you can see how it looks in natural light, but also how your colour is going to look in artificial lighting, so when you're turning your lights on overnight. It just gives you a really good idea of how the colour is going to work within your environment. So there are a couple of little tips for you, and I think it's the best thing you can do, investing in that sample pot. And what else can I tell you here? So, and ensuring too, when you go to paint your room, that you use a really good quality paint. And I'm always going to, for those that have followed my sessions, Endure all the way. Endure contains what they call NanoGuard technology. So you put a standard paint film under a microscope, it has a one size paint particle. Endure has that one size paint particle, but also a smaller paint particle, fills the airspace, creates an interlocking molecular structure, meaning you can scrub your paint and you're not going to end up with what's commonly referred to as shiny patches, burnishing. So really, really important. Endure also is endorsed by Sensitive Choice. So for anybody that suffers from asthma and allergies, it's a fantastic paint choice. And the other thing as well, it contains all of your mold inhibitors. Now I'm in Queensland. It's starting to build a little bit of humidity. It's certainly building here tonight. I can feel it here. And it's all of that. That's what can, you've got your humidity, you've got a lot of moisture in the air, and that can cause mold. So it's really important to ensure that you have a fantastic product on your walls. Okay, so I have got some questions coming through. So I will come back on screen and answer the questions. Then I'll take you through my blue journey. How about that? Let's just see if this works. Fantastic. It's always a little bit hit and miss when you come back and you haven't been on screen for a little while and you've got all this technology around you. Okay, so hi Vanessa, thank you very much for joining our session. So your question is, hey Fiona, I'm about to paint my kitchen, which is white. I'm about to paint my kitchen white. And I've got white cupboards, a stone bench top with fine grey flecks and grey tiles. What colour do you suggest for the walls? Okay, so I guess I'm probably going to suggest something that's a little bit more neutral. So when you look at whites, the easiest way to describe whites is to categorize them into 3 categories. So you've got a cool white. So cool white tends to have more of a blue undertone. Then you've got a warmer white, which can be, you know, a little bit more sort of on the creamier side, if you like, and possibly a slightly more of a yellow undertone. And then you've got what can be defined as neutral. So anything that tends to sit within that neutral space has a slight, dare I say, a slight green undertone. And working with whites that sit within that space are a fantastic place to start, because they generally will sit and fit within most environments and work with most other elements. Now you're saying that you've got grey tiles and then grey flecks. So I guess, you know, grey again can be a tricky colour to work with, because grey, when I look at greys, I categorise grey into 4 categories. So you've got what can be called greyish. So that's a grey that has more of a brown undertone. Then you have a blue grey. Then you have a red or purple based grey, and then you have again a green based grey, which again is that neutral sort of style grey. Now again, a neutral grey, really easy to work with. It tends to sit and fit with most other colours. So I guess, Vanessa, depends on the type of or the undertone that sits within your grey. So that's why I'm going to, unless you can tell me whether you've got more of a blue undertone or something like that, but I would recommend a neutral style white. And the first thing I think of is a wonderful white, which is called Alpine Snow, followed by Aspen Snow, which have that slight greeny sort of undertone. I mean, look, you'd look at it and you go, I really don't see green, but when I compare them to all the other whites, I can see that. And the best way when you're working with whites is, you know, if you're going into, let's just say your local Bunnings and you're looking at the colour wall, and all the whites tend to look, it can be very daunting and very overwhelming, and a lot of the whites can tend to start to look the same. So what you do is you grab yourself a white piece of computer paper before you go in. So go in armed, and then you can start to place your whites up against that white piece of computer paper, and then you can see the undertone. The other thing to look for is on the colour walls is a colour called Brilliant White, which is, dare I say, our stock standard white, straight out of the can. It's a fantastic white. What makes it so wonderfully white is the high amount of titanium dioxide, which offers exceptional opacity. But that wonderful white, again, get yourself one of those colour chips and you can put the other whites that you're looking at up against it, and then you can start to see the undertone. But I would, Vanessa, I think a starting point is to have a look at Alpine Snow, Aspen Snow, even a colour called South Pole, because they've got those sort of undertones. Some of the South Pole has a little bit more tint, if you like, so there's a little bit more depth of colour to it. Or there's one white, everybody watching that watches all the time will know exactly what I'm about to say. There's a fantastic white, it is called Crisp White. That is my go-to. I have that in my home everywhere, walls, ceilings, doors and trims. It is wonderful. So you could also look at Crisp White, because I know how well Crisp White works with the majority of other elements. So hoping there that gives you a few colours to work with. Vanessa, if you'd like some more information, please pop something else into the feed and I'll be very happy to answer and give you some more suggestions. Thank you. Okay. Okay, what else do I have here? Okay, so I've got Christy. Hi, Christy. Thank you very much for joining our session tonight. So Christy says, hi, I'm looking for an external warm white colour for James Hardie cladding. Surf mist roof, Dover white, garage door, white windows and half height recycled brick. Hoping not to be too yellow, but also not too stark. So an external warm white colour for James Hardie cladding. So let's just have a look. You've got surf mist, Dover white, garage door. So they're the two colours that, well, you can't really see that because it's so bright in here. But we've got a Dover white and surf mist. Surf mist is a fantastic white. It's probably the most popular or it's the most popular exterior white. It does tend to, when you look at it, you go, oh, it doesn't look white, but when it's put outside into full sun, it looks white. And it's really important to understand how whites will work in an external application. And there's one thing that you can look at, which is something that's called LRV, which is light reflectance value. And by looking at the light reflectance value, you can kind of gauge how much glare the white's going to have. So if you're shopping for white, you can visit our website, which is www.taubmans.com.au, and you can go to the colour section and you can find out information about each colour. So you're looking for an LRV, looking for a white for external use, look at colours that sit around about 65 to 75, and you'll find that that's going to have enough substance not to be too glary, but still look white in an external application. So I'm just doing two things here at once. I'm looking at colour and then talking to you all about that. Okay, so we're wanting a warmer white, but we don't want it to be too yellow and not too stark. So I'm thinking with these colours here, maybe a little bit too pink. Righty-o, let's have a look here. You could look at a colour called, where are we? I'm thinking of Lunar Rock. Just can't find it at the moment. You can never find it when you want it. Okay, sorry, you're telling me it's just coming through that you have a Surf Mist roller door. And I'm presuming Dover white windows, perhaps? Okay, so I'm thinking there's a colour called Lunar Rock. Here we go. Yeah, there's a colour called Lunar Rock, which is just, it's still, what's the LRV on it? So the LRV is, 61, and Surf Mist is 67. So it's not that much darker than Surf Mist, but it's tonally correct. And I think it's really important that if you have like your Surf Mist roller door, that you've got something that's tonally correct that's going to work with that colour. So Lunar Rock would be a colour that I would have a look at. So Taubmans Lunar Rock, or if you want something that's a little bit darker but still tonally correct, the next colour down is called Flint Smoke. So I'd also look at those two. Have a look at those. I'm happy to pop something into the feed when we finish streaming and send you a link that you can have a look at. And certainly I hope that helps. If not, I was looking at Cradle White. Yes, Dover White windows. Cradle White. So Cradle White, Christy's very light. So let me have a look. I guess what you could do in this, and as I talked about before, sample potting. I'm sorry, I think it's so hot here tonight. It's just the humidity is really, really building. I think we're about to get a massive storm, and all of a sudden it's just got really, really hot. It doesn't help that we're lit up like a Christmas tree in here, so I kind of feel like I'm melting. Anyhow, I'm thinking for you, like Cradle White is, it's a white that doesn't have a huge amount of tint. So look, certainly, as I talked about before, colour being extremely personal. But what I would do, Christy, is I would get yourself a piece of, a sample pot, a large piece of cardboard, brush out the colours that I've suggested tonight and brush out your Cradle White. Now, I would test it in areas externally where you don't get a lot of natural light, but also in areas where you get full sun, where it's quite blinding, and see how the white performs for you. Just see whether it's got enough substance, if you find it to be too glary, or whether it works for you. Because as we say, you know, colour's very personal, and I'm certainly here just to help guide, if you like, a little bit. But yeah, that would be my suggestion. Test it out in your environment, see how it works for you. And I hope that helps. Thank you. Okay, what else do we have here? I've got a few. Hi, Belinda. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Okay, I'm looking for an entrance door colour for a modern renovation of a 1970s brick house. The brick is pale orange tone with some red and black glassy spots. I have monument and woodland grey for gutters and roof. Can you suggest a slightly warm modern colour for a semi-gloss front door, not dark or white? Thanks. I can. And I'm going to, and I mentioned before, LRVs. It's really important when you start looking at a front door, especially if you're putting a new front door in, a new timber front door. There are stipulations against the depth of color, and this is where LRV comes into play. So think about this. So you've got LRV, so again, light reflectance value. So 0 is black, 100 is white. So a lot of front door manufacturers are stipulating to have your front door color being 50 or greater. Anything 50 or less can sometimes be a little bit too dark. It's going to draw in the heat, which can then turn your timber door to twist and warp, expand and contract, etc. So, and you can potentially void a warranty. So again, looking for a front door color, look at something that is 50 or greater. And I'm just thinking about what you've said here, Belinda. So you've got pale orange, some red, black glassy spots, and you're wanting something, a slightly warm modern color for a semi-gloss front door. So a warm modern color. So you could go with, so the opposites, I'm just thinking you could do something that has, you could keep within sort of, you know, the orangey tones, if you like. There's a fantastic color called Bundanoon, which is it's almost a slight washed out sort of terracotta color. And these sorts of tones are really on trend, and I think they look fantastic. So you've got something like that, and look, the color on the screen's not doing it any justice, but it is called Bundanoon. The other color, I'm thinking, because given your, you know, like when you start to look at colors and you're wondering, you know, what can I put with something? A great thing to reference is the color wheel. And so if you look at the colors that sit opposite each color on the color wheel, it generally creates the perfect color scheme. So something, if we're working in an orange, reddy sort of tone, you could almost go for a very soft sort of muted green, but it's got to be that right tone that's going to work with the reddy terracotta color. So there's a color here that I think could look really, really good, and it's that color there. It's called White Clover. So it's almost a sagey style green, but it's going to sit really, really well with the other elements that you have. Or the other thing you could do, so you've got White Clover, Bundanoon, or you could, if you wanted to, and let me just see whether I can find something that's going to, you could even go for a slightly, sort of a muted mustard sort of tone. So there's a color here called Warm Glow that I think could work really, really well with what you've got happening as well, which is, let me just have a look here. It's that tone there. And I think, again, with your bricks, taking into consideration that you have Monument and you've got the Woodland Grey, I think that could work really, really well. If I haven't hit the mark with what you're thinking, let me know, pop something else into the feed, and I'll be very happy to offer some other suggestions. Oh, hi Monique, I've just tuned in. We'll check my messages and see if we can get a time together for you to help with my new kitchen paint colour. Certainly, thank you very much, Monique. What else do we have here? Hi Michelle, thank you very much for joining our session. You're saying, hi, can you suggest a blue neutral for internal walls? So when you say a blue neutral, I just want to gauge how light are you wanting it? So, and a blue neutral. So are you talking about sort of more of a neutral style white that has more of a blue undertone? Or if you can come back to me, please, Michelle, with a little bit more information, I can certainly offer some wonderful suggestions for you. Oh, fantastic, Belinda. You're very, very welcome. I'm glad that you like the Bundanoon. I think it's a fantastic colour, and I know I've sort of pictured what you have happening with the exterior of your home, and I think it could work really, really well. And I'm glad you mentioned using, you know, a semi-gloss. I think what's really important, you know, making sure that the product that you use is fit for purpose. So when you're embarking on a colour journey and you're thinking about painting a front door, I love to use a semi-gloss or a gloss. And the reason being is I'm using something like a water-based enamel, and water-based enamel in particular, the beauty of it is it's quick drying, it's non-yellowing, and you can achieve a fantastic finish, and there's no smell. But what I love about it is when you use a gloss or a semi-gloss, it intensifies the color. So I'm going to show you. So if you grab yourself a sample pot and you're testing a color and you're wondering, you know, what's it going to look like in a gloss, you know, create yourself a little swatch, let it dry. Once dry, get some clear tape and pop some clear tape over part of the sample that you have created, or alternatively, grab a color chip off the color wall and pop some clear sticky tape over it, and then you can see how the color looks glossed up, so to speak. It intensifies. And here's something that I've prepared earlier. So you can see here, there's a blue color chip off the color wall, and that side there has clear sticky tape over it, and you can see how the light reflects differently, and you can see how it's really intensified the color. So if you're going to be painting your front door, certainly look for what I just mentioned before, like that semi-gloss or gloss finish, and you'll get that beautiful intensity of color. And you know what? The same works for internal doors as well. Even if you're doing a white on white color scheme like I have in quite a lot of my home, but I've used, as I said before, crisp white. I've got it on my ceilings, I've got it on my walls, I've got it on my doors and trims. But we have used a gloss finish on our doors and trims, and you can just see the slight variance in color due to the way the light reflects from the gloss. It's fantastic. It looks really, really good. Anyway, that concludes this evening. It's been a fantastic evening. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go through the rest of my slides, but that's okay. I think I've talked quite a lot about how you can use blue within your home, how it's a fantastic choice to start to look at, you know, and if you're about to embark on a color journey and you're not sure where to start, if you're doing your bedroom, have a look at things like your doona covers, artworks, etc., and draw inspiration from that. It's very, very easy to find things that are going to be featured within your space to use as the basis of creating that wonderful color scheme. Okay, so that concludes this evening. If you do have any more questions, I will be behind the computer, not the camera, for a further half an hour or so, and very happy to answer some more for you. So until next week, I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Stay safe, everybody. And as I always say, happy painting. Thanks very much. Good night.